Music team. Hello, music team. All right. Paul Baloche. Pretty sure it's Baloche, but whatever. Did a great job of explaining range. Well, he's not my favorite worship example, right? Genre-wise, I don't vibe on him. He's great, led a lot of people, done at a high level, awesome. I'm not sending you guys his school of thought because I want to be him or emulate him or do 90s worship. Um, that's not the takeaway from that. And I don't think you guys, I mean, again, I'm so not used to such maturity spiritually, just in general. People like lack of infighting. It's amazing. You guys all deserve a big pat on the back. I'm very proud of this team for how far we've come without any of the normal pitfalls that I usually experience doing something like this. Um, so nobody's been like, oh, I don't want to do 90s worship. I'm not watching these videos, and you should send out something different. They learned what they could from him, which is such a sign of maturity. It's amazing. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. He did a great job explaining range, right? Bass is down low, keys don't have to be down low. Keys can go up high, guitars don't, or even just a two guitar example. If I'm up here, the other guy can be down there, right? Just trying to give each other space and range. He did a great job with that. He did a great job of he worded it differently, but what I would call of working together to create a dialogue instead of 5 or 7 monologues. Um, he also did a great job of explaining rhythms and volumes and how, like, when there's a drummer, I can do less with my right hand. When there's a drummer, I can hit stuff less because now we have, a rhythm section. He did an excellent job with all those things. This is just to follow up those first 2 videos. If you haven't seen them, go search up Music Team, All Team, the videos, reach out, find out a way to get those because this is a third part, but it is kind of assuming you've already seen those things. I'm very happy with how quickly people have deployed those. I can tell more people are thinking of themselves as a arranger rather than a instrumentalist. And he uses this example that when you're at home, by yourself, you're having to hold the whole thing together and you're doing lots and lots of stuff, right? And when you come together as a band, as a team, now you don't need to hold the whole thing together and do all of the things. And in fact, if we all do that, we're stepping on each other. That was great, and that's going great already. This is to just kind of nuance a little salt on top of it, give it a little more seasoning. He doesn't necessarily talk about harmony to the level that I would say. So there's the longest piece of music in existence that I know of, or for a long time. Maybe there's something new that I don't know about. Is an opera by Richard Wagner. He's a German composer. He wrote The Ring the Nibelung. It takes 4 nights to perform this opera. In his opera, there's all these motives, these sounds that mean things. There's little like elfish characters and like maybe ogres and stuff. But then there's this giant beast. I don't remember what it's called. All my guitar students know this. You guys should all know this by now. If you hear my stories and fact check them, you will find big holes in my facts, but you will find that the moral of the story is intact. The moral of the story is still there. It's all based in real stuff. It's just my brain gets all the lines crossed and it messes it all up. I'm trying to remember the name of the beast. Whatever. It's not a Leviathan. The Valkyrie. It's not the Valkyrie. And whatever. All right. This is a big giant beast, and it's the first character you're introduced to in the opera. It's the first thing that you hear. Maybe it's day 3. I think it's day 1. The very first thing you hear. All you hear is the motive to describe this giant beast. And so Richard Wagner in this massive, and it sets the tone for the whole opera, right? Like, so what he does is he takes 500 measures, pages and pages of music to build one chord. So all you hear for like the first 200 measures is an E. And then the next thing you hear is another octave of E. And you hear this for a long time. And then eventually you'll hear harmony. So this, by the way, octave E and E is not harmony, right? It's the same pitch class. They both belong to the same pitch class. They're different pitches. One's lower, one's higher, but they're the same pitch class of E. And then eventually you'll hear a B. Here's the fun thing about E and B is you do not know if this is major or minor until you hear the G sharp. He takes 500 measures, 400 measures, something ridiculous to build one chord. When that G sharp comes in, you now have a full chord. You have 3-part harmony. You have an E major chord. And what he does is he when that big change happens and you finally hear a new chord, you get this impression, this feeling that you are doing something big. Something big is coming. It's literally a physical giant as a character in the, and it's not, I want to say it's a beast. Valkyrie. It's going to drive me nuts. I'm going to have to search it up at some point. Or I guess I'm going to search it up right now. But you get this gravity and the weight of a giant thing. And it's, yes, it's the motive that come on, it's like the name it's like one of the names of the characters. It's not in there. Maybe it is the Valkyrie. I don't think it's the Valkyrie. I thought those were something else. Anyway, okay. It sets the precedent. So yes, you're being introduced. So there are these motives, right? And the motives tell you the elves and the angels and the whatever, all the different characters, and they all have sounds that represent the characters. And each time the character appears, you hear those kinds of those motives. They're motives. But not only is it introducing the biggest character in the story, but you're also setting the tone that you're about to hear this big monumental piece of music that takes 4 nights to perform, right? We can use lots of those elements and tactics in both our arrangement and choosing when we come in and when we drop out, and how it just adds so much weight to when the drums and the bass are going. Also in harmony, and when the vocals go from all singing unisons to harmonizing, it adds weight. It just, by choosing your punches, you hit harder, basically, right? Okay, so and then also in music history, history of music started around 1200 AD in the church in France, and it was all through the Roman Catholic Church because all the art was back then was for church. And that was the first time somebody wrote down. They're like, "Hey, I'm going to leave town. This guy's coming into town, and I need him to play the song I wrote that you guys all know. I need him to learn it, so I'm going to write down some stuff so he can figure out how to play it or sing it or whatever, right?" And so that's when history started, and we started writing down music, Western music. All my stuff is from Western music, right? I'm not harmonizing. It's all the same pitch, okay? In terms of music history, it started around 1200 AD, and for 200 years, we did not have any harmony. If somebody accidentally sang another pitch and harmonized by accident, they go, "You know what, Brother Andrew, you should go wash dishes. You're not really choir material. Sounds like noise." It sounded like noise to them for 200 years. And then eventually they were like, "You know what? These fourths and fifths, these sound good. This is music to me now. Let's have this harmony thing." And we had with the perfect fourths and perfect fifths. These were the first harmonies that we saw in music. But to have a full chord, to have the third in there, noise. Yeah, Brother Peter, you need to go wash some dishes. That's not that you're not singing. That's all wrong. That's not part of this thing. It's too dense. It was too much harmony for their ear at that point. And so for 100 years we only had fourths or fifths or whatever. Let's go 100 years of fifths and then 100 years of fourths. So all we had for 200 years was fourths or sorry, 100 years it was fourths, maybe fifths. But then 100 years later they had the full chord, the major chord, the minor chord. Ooh, this sounds like music now. And this pattern happens over and over again. The first one took 200 years, and then after that was 100 years. 100 years before there was a chord, 100 years where there was a major chord, and then 100 years where there was a 7 chord, and 100 years where there was a 9 chord. So Beethoven writes this piece. Everybody goes, oh, poor Beethoven. His deafness has got him. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it sounds like noise. And for 100 years, they didn't like it. It sounded like noise. And then the 9 chord, people are like, oh, this 9 chord thing's cool. Hey, Beethoven did that a while ago. That was pretty cool, right? So this pattern happens over and over again where there's too much harmony and our ears don't like it, and then we get used to it, and now we like the harmony. And now all those things to us all sounded like music because we're now used to that, and it's music to us, right? We can use these two concepts, right? Where historically, I just like the idea of traditional stuff. I like ultra modern stuff. We're gonna do some stuff that hasn't even been written yet because I'm excited about new stuff too. But I also like having a foot in tradition, and I mean tradition from the third and fourth century, from the 15th century and the Reformation, stuff that is really old. And back then, stuff didn't have tons of harmony, so it's cool to. I really like that idea of not only, I love as a concept, I love taking a well-written song, stay out of its way, let it happen, and be a dialogue, not be all these monologues trying to, and they did a great job in those other videos. This one, I just wanted to kind of highlight harmony and also how you can use it to create something big and meaningful, and also how it has a leg in history, and that's why I want doxology to be part of our repertoire. Is it's been around. It's one of the oldest songs in worship that's still in use. Okay, that's the part of this video that has to do with arrangement and like just cool stuff you can mess with when we're rehearsing and as we're kind of creating this thing together. The rest of this is me nerding out. Janelle was like, dude, you should tell him all that stuff. Like, it's such a sick sermon. She thinks it's cool. I think it's amazing, but you don't need all it, and it's going to take way longer than the first part of this video, okay? So feel free to check out. You don't need stuff. My opinion, this is my opinion, is that God gave us music. It is an angelic tongue. I think that you can prove intelligent design from understanding music theory, okay? This is all me, not a whole lot of Bible in this. This is all like strings and stuff and sounds. Now it comes to the first premise to all this is understanding how powerful the major scale is. Straight major scale up and down. I just gave it some rhythm on the way back down. Now it's a song I know. Hey, cool. The major scale, if you're not familiar with how powerful it is, just take my word for it. Everything you can, in fact, I pretend all songs are major. They don't. That's not true. I pretend that songs are all major. I pretend everything's in major. I don't care if it's harmonic minor, melodic minor, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian. I pretend it's all major. I treat it all like it's major. That's what my charts are written in. That's how I think, and I play it. And then I'll put in parentheses what it really is: D Dorian, A minor, whatever. But I'm thinking C major. I'm thinking C major because then it's all the same shapes for me and it's all the same places. It's easier that way. But the reality is the major scale is so powerful that all the other stuff is based on it. D Dorian is C major, depending on where you start and stop, or who you give precedence to. E Phrygian, F Lydian, G Mixolydian, all those. And you can say that's true of every single one of those examples. Harmonic minor, melodic minor, the natural minor, all the modes thereof, the pentatonics, everything is either comes from major or it wants to get back to major because the major scale is so strong. If you don't get that, that's a whole other pile of music theory. We can go through that. That's great. I'm happy to go through that. I'm a nerd for that stuff. I love it. But if not, just trust me. Just take my word for it. Major scale, crazy important to music. It's the foundation for everything. Okay, major scale is crazy important to music. Okay, now string theory. I hear a string, a well-tuned string, or any string, is labeled by the frequencies in it. That was A440. What you just heard was A440. It is called A440 because 440 cycles per second is the frequency that sound is coming at. Okay. It's so the sound. I pluck the string has its highest. Wrong way. All right. I pluck the string has its highest point, and then it has its lowest point, and then it comes back to where it started, and that's one cycle. And one cycle in each second is 1 hertz. 440 hertz, 440 cycles per second is A440. That is the loudest frequency in that sound. It is not the only frequency in that sound. There are other frequencies in that sound. Those frequencies are called harmonics. Stringed instrument players can pull the harmonics out with a left-hand technique, right? I'm not squeezing the fret all the way down. I'm gentle on it, and I hear the harmonic. That harmonic is in the string of A. When I find those frequencies, what are the frequencies I'm hearing inside of A440? I'm hearing 880 octaves of A. Okay, I'm hearing lots of octaves of A. Okay, cool. Those all belong to the pitch class A. Nothing exciting there. When I find out what those harmonics are, what I will find out. All right, so let's do the math on A110. It's just because I'm going to go deep dive on it. You don't have to watch this if you don't want. All right, so let's use A110. Octaves are at a ratio of 2 to 1. If you're a math nerd like me too, octaves are 2 to 1. 110, 220, 440, 880 all belong to the pitch class A. They're all A's. The frequencies are like n plus 1. 110, 220, both A's. 330, not an A. 440 is an A. 550 is not an A. 660 is not an A. Okay, or 616 might be an A. 330. No, it's the 660 is the same as 330 was. It's an octave of whatever that one was, right? So we're going to find that there's other pitches in there. Most of them are A's, but some of them are something else. And it all has to do with this math that comes off of the string that we heard. So we're pretending this one was a 110. It's actually a 440, but whatever. That just is, that numbers are easier when you think of 110, 220, 330. And how they're very similar to the octaves, 110, 220, 440, 880, but not the same. The octaves always double. Okay. All this math stuff, whatever. What are the sounds I'm hearing other than A in the string A? Let's actually come back to that. This is a cheap guitar. I keep it out for my kids to run around and climb on and play, and who cares, right? This guitar, I tuned it up before we started talking. A well-tuned instrument, if I hit enough volume, right, you can tell my amp's pretty hot. If I hit enough volume, the strings are going to start going. Okay? But if I play one string, not all the strings are going. If enough air is moving, you're going to vibrate stuff that wants to vibrate, like strings that are tensioned. They want to vibrate. I hit enough air, I might shake my windows. The windows aren't in tune. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about what I want to get down to is if I play something very well in tune at enough volume to where it's moving enough air, and the string is very well in tune, it will start to vibrate through the air because they were both in the same frequency, the same. They're in tune. They're tuned to the same frequency. They're ready to go at that frequency. So when I play an A here, I'm going to hear the A there because they're both well in tune enough. I only play the A. Not all of them are going. See, when I hit, I'm going to hit a chord. I hit all the strings, so maybe the E made the E, the A made the A, the D made the D. Maybe that's what happened. So I'm going to play a chord here. Not all the strings are going. What you're hearing is kind of in tune. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to get closer to it so you can hear it. My mics are in my ears. What's ringing out in there is matching my chord here, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute this guitar entirely. I'm going to set it somewhere where the strings cannot vibrate. The strings are now facing the couch. Okay, so nothing that you hear is hearing that guitar. Watch. Nothing from there. Nothing from there. We just had that example. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to release the high E string. Like if you're on a piano and the piano's well in tune, you can do this. You can push the key down. It has to be an acoustic piano. It doesn't work on electric. You push the key down so slow. And when you push a piano hammer down, the hammer, remember pianos are percussive instruments because they're striking the strings. They're not a bowing or anything. So anyway, the pianos are percussive instruments. So but when a piano's at rest, all the hammers are resting on the strings. They're all touching the strings. They're all resting there. When you pick one key and you push it down crazy slow, crazy slow, slow, you'll see that hammer come up. It comes to the top. It comes toward the string. It's going to hit the string, but it doesn't touch the string. It stays above the string, and then it hovers above the string the whole time it's being held down until you let go, and then the hammer comes back and rests on the string. The felt kind of rests on the string, so it mutes the strings, so they're not just clanging around as people are walking by the piano, right? It keeps them muted. I'm going to be the piano hammer with my pinky here. I'm on the high E string. I'm going to pick it up so slow. so slow, like I'm pushing down that key on the piano and pick it up so slow that it doesn't ring. If I pick it up too fast, watch, all I'm doing is coming up. I'm just coming up from the strings. But my amp's so hot, it mutes. It makes a sound. That was really quiet. Hopefully you could hear it. Here we go. We go so slow. Oh, too fast. All right, I'm gonna do it the way I always do. Pinky comes in so slow. Come on. All right, I'm gonna mute here. It's technically going. It's technically going, but I'm gonna wait for it to stop. All right, it stopped. Here we go. I'm gonna pluck the A really hard. Hopefully you're not hearing that ding. I'm gonna mute that either way. All right. So what you should have heard already in this example, come on. What you should have heard in this example was the high E start to ring out. Okay. I hit the A. I muted the A. I'm muting all of the other strings. Only the high E is unmuted. It's silent. I've got him unmuted. Right now, only the high E is unmuted. I'm going to hit the A loud, and then I'm going to mute it. That high E is going. I'm going to get closer to the amp, so hopefully you can hear it better. So, if I have a well-tuned high E string and a well-tuned A string at the correct octave, right, for the harmonics and stuff, what that means is inside of the A string, I'm hearing an E. That exact octave of E on the guitar, right? I play guitar, I understand it from guitar. This is true on piano. If you find the right octaves, and it's a well-tuned piano, and you push the keys down slow enough, any stringed instrument, they're well-tuned, and you unmute it, but make sure you didn't strike it, so you're not just hearing what you striked. You unmute it, everybody else is muted. You find the right octave of A, you're going to hear that E ring. You find the right octave of C sharp, dong, you're going to hear that C sharp ring. Why is that? Because A440 is labeled 440 because it is the loudest frequency in the sound. It is not the only frequency in the sound. The other frequencies that we are hearing are C sharp and E. When I play A, C sharp, and E together, I have an A major chord. Yes, there's 6 strings. I'm playing more than just A, C sharp, and E. But guess what else I'm playing? There are other octaves of C sharp, E, or A. 6 strings are only playing A, C sharp, and E. That's enough data for a major chord. 3 harmonies playing the correct pitches is a major chord, a minor chord, whatever, right? Okay. So the major chord is not something we decided no longer sounded like noise and sounds like music. We like these harmonies. They sound like music now to us. They are something that come from the string. When you play an E, the harmonics from E are going to be lots of octaves of E, but you're going to hear a G sharp and you're going to hear a B. The data for the E major chord comes from the E string. The data for the D major chord comes from the a D string. The data for the G chord, G major, comes from a G string. The major chord is simply accenting the harmonics that we were already hearing in the string. The string told us where the major chord was, not the other way around. Who put those harmonics there? The basis for the major scale comes from the major chord. We had 3 of the 7 pitches for a major scale. A, C sharp, E. In my example in A. Same is true in C. Same is true in D. Anything you play, the major chord comes from the string itself. You could argue that all of music theory was put into the string because it gave us the major scale. And from there, we found these pentatonics and these modes and these minors and these other things that are all either major scale themselves, relative, or parallel, or they're trying to get so. I didn't want to go through this, but the minor, right? A natural minor. The first thing that happens is it goes to harmonic minor. The G becomes G sharp because A is so powerful as tonic that it drags other stuff to it. And now the G goes from G natural to G sharp. And then the next thing that happened was that the 6 and the 7 got moved by one half step. And so now you're in A B C D E F sharp G sharp A. How far is that from A major? C sharp, F sharp, G sharp. A harmonic minor, a melodic minor has two of those because the A was so powerful it dragged stuff closer to it, and it got stuff closer to its major scale. So when I heard the A string, that minor, oh man, that's too much music theory nerdery. But if you're up on all that, right? So A natural minor is basically C major. And then the modifications to minor that came because the A was trying to make it A major, and that's why we got melodic minor. And all of those things, all of these crazy things come from the string. The data for the major chord came from the string. That's most of the data for the major scale. That's most of the data for all of Western music, period. What a coincidence. Hogwash. Intelligent design. Somebody put it there for us to find it so that we could worship him. How sick is that? Worship is way more than music, but music is a really cool tool for worship. I think that's really sick. I'm glad you stuck around if you came this far. Again, if any part of this doesn't make sense to you, you want to challenge it, feel free. Probably not during rehearsal, but just come link with me. I like this stuff. I'm a nerd for it. I love you guys. Thank you. Have